Hey, welcome back to Bobb-z Callahan's Word of Advice. And for the next 5 videos or so, I'm going to be talking about certain tips to remember while you're driving. And the reasons I wanted to talk about some tips for when you're driving is because, one, a lot of us drive, and I would always recommend being a safe driver. And two, I'm going to talk about some tips that are relevant to the time of the year. Particularly in this video, I'm going to talk about stopping on a slippery road. And of course, that can be at any time of the year, when it rains, or for winter, when it snows. And for this first out of 5 videos or so related to driving, I wanted to talk about stopping on a slippery road, whether that's in winter or in the summer. This just kind of came to me because I know in the wintertime especially, the roads can be a little more dangerous because there's snow on the street sometimes and there's ice on the street sometimes. And that can make it harder for a car to stop. And if there's anything I've learned from experience, and if there's any advice which has been given to me over time from other people, if you are stopping on a slippery road, it also depends on the kind of car you're driving. I drive an automatic, so keep that in mind. But if you're trying to stop, it's better to pump your brakes. And by that I mean repeatedly pressing the brake pedal instead of just holding the brake down. And if you do that, that'll make your brakes work more, and you have a better chance of stopping when you're going on a slippery road, whether it's hilly or flat. And your car will gradually come to a stop more, opposed to the possibility of skidding, losing control of your car when you hold down the brake. I remember 2 years ago I was trying to stop and turn into my driveway, and I was holding down the brake. I wasn't repeatedly pressing it, and the roads were kind of slick that night. And I remember losing control of my car. Now, I didn't run into anybody, I didn't fall into the grass, but for about a minute or so, I didn't have much control of my car when I was repeatedly holding down the brake. I guess to make that sound better, I was holding down the brake, and I wasn't repeatedly pressing the brake, and it started to skid. And that could have ended really bad if there were other cars on the street at that time. But thankfully I got out of that without hurting anybody, or me, or my car. I can also say from experience, when I have repeatedly pressed my brakes in a time of when I've needed to, my car has come to a stop much easier whenever I've needed to slow down on a slippery road. And it has reduced the chances of me running into anybody or anything on a slippery road. So, kind of to wrap up this video, I can say from experience that pumping your brakes and repeatedly pressing the brakes, opposed to holding down the brake, gives you a better chance of stopping on a slippery road and not hurting anybody when you are out on streets which are not the safest to drive on, especially when they're slippery. I hope this advice will come in handy if you are driving on a slippery road. Good luck to everybody out there who is driving, and isn't exactly crazy about driving on slippery roads, come back for another word of advice video.